You may see somebody's life on the internet and think they got it all figured out. They don't. Nobody does. But that's okay though. Let's tap in. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of Tap In Monday. This episode and topic today is for the ones who have been pretending to be okay when they're not. I've been there. Now let's tap into it. There was a time in my life, probably early 20s, I would say it was a period of time where I felt like this, man. It felt like I just, was alone. Felt like no one understood me, was misunderstood. A lot of people were looking to me for a lot of things. I had a lot of responsibilities. My job, keeping relationships with my friends and family strong. The most important part that I neglected a lot of the time was myself, making sure that my mental and myself was good and that I was in a good space. And I wasn't managing that well at all during that part of my life. And I would say that the pressure of trying to manage all of these things started to weigh on me more than I realized at the time. You kind of feel like you're going through just life and you got it all figured out. You're doing your same routines. You're showing up, still being the same person that everybody knows you to be. Got to show up a certain way, and having to do those things and know deep down inside that you're not okay and you're not happy that's tough. That's tough. And I was in that spot for a minute, man. For a minute. You got people that know you, they know who you are, they know what you bring in life, your personality, and I know how I make them feel as well. And I would never want it to show up somewhere or to be the person that brings the energy down, or be the person that is sad, or be the person that is not the same as he usually is. But not realizing that's dangerous. That was just like a trap, I would say, in a way where it wasn't healthy for my own mental. I was putting everybody first, putting everybody ahead of me and how I felt at the time. I didn't know how to manage all of those things. Thinking about it now, I feel like putting that mask on for that period of time and basically pretending, it cost me a lot. Now that I've had time to take a step back and really dissect my life and the different eras of my life that I felt could have been better, and I definitely realized that not being true to who you are and living your truth and reality, no matter where you are in your life, that will hurt you more than trying to act like everything is okay and trying to act like you don't go through stuff and your life is good and your life is perfect. That's a damaging thing. It over time, it weighs on your spirit, it weighs on your mind, your body. Honestly, I don't know if there's science to it or whatever, but I do definitely think that me having those feelings and walking around with those things a lot definitely played a part in some of the things that were going on in my life, and whether it was injuries, whether just certain things not falling into place how I would want them to at the time, and just things that aren't going how you would expect. I think it was because I was carrying a lot, and I was blinded by what was really out there, what was really there for me. I was blinded and didn't really get to understand that it's okay to be in your feelings. It's okay to be a human. You know what I mean? God made us and created us with all of these feelings and different things inside of us that we have to express, that he wants us to express. But a lot of the times it's tough for whatever reason, and I feel like being able to get to that part and break that down, that helps a lot. And that leads me into my first point that I want to talk about today. Performing okayness is exhausting and isolating. Man, pretending to be okay and pretending all the time, every day, that takes energy that you don't have. Honestly, you not being okay, you already have that going on in your mind. You already have the things that you're thinking about, that you're trying to work through and navigate through, and trying to figure that out and get those things in line, and having that and trying to go out into the world and still make sure everybody else around you is okay, still make sure everybody else doesn't see you going through whatever it is that you're going through, and you're just trying to put on a show to kind of distract people. That takes a lot of energy, man. And when you don't have it, you just find yourself forcing it, and it just drains you and you start to kind of feel like what else am I supposed to do? Like I don't want to be feeling like this, or I don't want to keep trying to please everyone around me and keep trying to make sure everybody else is happy and doesn't see me going through something. And that's exhausting for sure. Believe it or not, it keeps people at a distance, and it keeps you stuck in the same cycle of, showing up not yourself, and showing up whatever it is that you're doing, not being yourself. And I know for me, I started to I wanted to be alone a lot. And don't get me wrong. I still like, being alone and being in my thoughts, but it's for a whole different reason and for healing purposes that I want to do that now. Then I didn't understand that. So me being alone was me just trying to get away from things and not really deal with things that were going on in my mind, in my spirit. I would try to use it as a distraction. And if I didn't have to be around people, I would prefer not to be. And I'll just, catch myself being alone by myself and isolating myself and not trying to talk to people or not trying to go hang out with my friends and family. And like I mentioned earlier, even when I did go hang out with my friends and family, it was like, okay, all right, here we go. I gotta put on this mask again and go out and play superhero and act like everything's all good and everything is great. I started to kind of feel like I wasn't building the right relationships with people that I could have, built with. It was friends at the time. It was teammates of mine, anything business-wise that, came across the table. It was all like I was so in my own box and in my own shell that I was blocking my own blessings, just trying to perform and not be the guy that's oh, wait, what's wrong with him? Like, why he's, are you okay? Like, I don't know why, but I didn't want anyone to ask me that. I didn't want anyone to ask, like, are you good? Like, what's going on? Like, for me, I didn't know why at the time. It was because I didn't understand why I was, feeling the emotions that I was feeling and growing up and, coming into my own. It was a tough question for me to like sit with, and I was avoiding it at all costs. And that is the part where it can turn into isolation and keep you stuck in that same cycle. Not being okay does not mean you're weak. It simply means you're human. James 1 verse 4 says, "Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." My interpretation of that is basically you're going to go through hardships in your life. Things are going to happen throughout your life that you don't expect, you didn't see coming. It's going to hurt sometimes. Like, that's life. Like I said, nobody is exempt from it. But the key in my opinion is you have to now switch your mindset from literally what I did. I'm going through something. I'm going to put myself in a box. I'm going to, isolate myself. I'm going to try to figure it out. Why is everything not happening how it's supposed to? Why this, why that? Not understanding that, God works for us. Everything he does in our life is working for us. He's working to place us where he has already seen. We don't understand it. We haven't seen it, but God sees everything before, we even could think about it. And when you look at it like that and zoom out and you see like, okay, I'm going through this, or I'm not okay right now in this season. I'm not the happiest, I could be. Things are not going well for me right now. When you take that mindset and say, you know what, it's okay though. That's fine. And I know God is working. He's doing something greater than I can even see right now. And that's where the difference from pretending like things are not happening or it's not there and you're just going in life and putting the mask on and trying to, not deal with it, versus acknowledging that the things are happening and acknowledging that you wish things were better, maybe were better, and not running from it, but accepting it and trusting God throughout the whole process of that season in your life. Honestly, that's what helped me out so much in this area of my life, is because I took that time to really understand, like, yeah, good or bad. I could be going through a great season of life. It's for a reason. God has something. I could be going through the worst season of my life, and same exact reason. It's for a reason. God has a plan. So understanding that God is for us, and it's okay to not be okay. He wants us to just rely on him throughout it all. So even with that goes into the third point that I have. The admission is step one to healing and growth. I feel like once you get to the space where you realize, okay, this is off, something is wrong. I've been feeling this way for X amount of time. Something's not right. I need to fix it. That's step one to being in the right mindset to really grow from it and become a better person, become different and be different. Like I said, that's the bravest thing you could do. People might laugh or I wouldn't even say laugh. People might view it as weak. People might say, oh, he or she is not this, not strong, not whatever. Who cares? People might say things, but admitting that you're not okay is the bravest thing that you can do as a human being, because you admitting that and you needing help and you realizing that you can't depend on yourself. You can't do things alone. You need Jesus. You need God to guide you, out of whatever it is that you're going through and what part of life that you're in. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge, man. Suppressing it, putting it to the side. It may feel good for the moment. Long term, it'll pop back up eventually. I've felt that firsthand. Feel like everything's good. You feel like you've put it to the back of your mind for so long that it's like, oh, I'm better now from that. I've grown from that, but you didn't put no work in to grow from it. It'll come back to find you And then you're going to have to put work in and you're going to have to fix it if you want to grow. It starts with you wanting to change. It starts with you wanting to be better. I've heard people that I don't even know, people that I've been in conversation with, and, conversations that I've heard over the years. People say, yeah, man, I've been like this, my whole life. I've been doing this way. I've been doing this that way, and I don't need to change. And it just I started to really think about why people won't change. I know it's a lot of people that don't want to change, which that's okay. God's still, working. But if you truly do want to change, you have the ability to. That's what I want, you guys to understand is you don't have to accept, your circumstances the way that they are. You don't have to accept your past version of yourself, doing something a certain way. So you feel like you got to do that the rest of your life and just stick with that. Growth is always in correction. It's always in acknowledging that you need to take that next step and not being comfortable and content with where you're at. Really, when you put your mind to that, you'll start to see differences. And I'm speaking from, just me personally, understanding that, okay, this is how I have been doing things in my life. I don't want to do it anymore this way. Okay, boom. God, I need your help to guide me, to place me in a better space, to place me in situations that will help me, get to where I want to get to and be the person that you made me to be, that I could see myself being, while I'm alive. Making that decision, taking that step is important, man. I'll say it's honestly up there. Number one, to acknowledge your things or whatever it is that need to change. Psalms 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit." God will meet you in those moments and times where you're not okay. He doesn't wait for us to have everything in order. He doesn't wait for us to only experience the victories for him to show up in our lives and work how he works. I think, God works the most when we don't feel good and we don't feel okay and we need help. That's where God will show up and show you things that you may not have seen, or show you, give you thoughts and give you wisdom on how to continue to move forward and grow. And he's with you. I just want you guys to understand that he's with you, even in times of struggle and times of adversity. You don't have to be put together to be heard by God. In my life, there's things that I don't feel like I have, in order, that I don't feel worthy of, bringing to God, or in a way where it's like, man, I don't feel like I'm in a space to sit down and have a conversation with God, or sit down to, talk to God about this or about that. But that's the complete opposite of who God really is. God wants to hear us in those times of confusion, those times of hurt, those times of, you're struggling. You want to get better, but the enemy always will try to prevent you. He never succeeds at it, but he will try to do things that he knows will get us away from God and away from hearing his voice, healing our minds and healing our bodies and our spirits. So understanding that you don't gotta be everything all in line for God to understand you and God to hear you. He loves us. He knows us. He wants us to come to him with everything. Even the smallest things you think like, God, don't want to hear that from me. Trust me, he does. He does. And he wants to be there every step of the way for us. The takeaway that I want to give you guys, for this week is give yourself permission to not be okay. You don't got to fix everything right now, but just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge that you need to grow. You need to fix whatever it is. Acknowledging it is step number one to being on that journey to healing. When was the last time you were honest about not being okay? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk. Let's have a good discussion. You guys have been, good with that. The ones that have been tapped into the videos have been sharing what their thoughts are and what they feel. Let's keep that going. Man, I love doing that with you guys, building that community. At the end of the day, I'm a human that goes through things just like you guys, and I want to hear from you guys. So, drop it in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that. Same with the Discord. Go ahead and tap into the Discord. Building a great community in there. You don't want to miss that. So yeah, man, I'm thankful for you guys as always. It's been fun sharing these perspectives and thoughts. So here every Monday. Tap back in next week for episode 5.